Hey everybody, it's X, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today we're going to be playing another premiere draft of Secrets of Strixhaven, and we'll just get started with the pack 1, pick 1. Grab an Impractical Joke here, a very efficient removal spell for Lorehold or Prismari. Happy to scoop that up. There's not too much else going on in this pack. We did get a Mythic Rare, which is a fun one, but it's not a very good one. It's got affinity for creatures, so the more creatures you have on board, the cheaper it is, but it's still more often than not just an overcosted 5/5 flying Death Touch, and giving all of your other instants and sorceries affinity for creatures doesn't really matter by the time you've already cast this likely 6 or 7 mana gigantic card. So I'm just going to grab Impractical Joke. The efficiency here is what's making Impractical Joke a lot better than that big expensive Mythic Rare. Pick number 2 now. There's not a great follow-up to Impractical Joke. We could try to do some of the slower Lorehold stuff, having cards leave our graveyard over and over again to get some tokens out of the Garrison Excavator. We could also just take another removal spell with a Heated Argument. This tends to play pretty decently, specifically in like Prismari decks, because you have cards that care about opusing for 5 mana value, casting 5 mana value of instants and sorceries. So I think either of these red cards is a perfectly reasonable follow-up, and I don't think any of the off-color cards are strong enough to warrant us going in a different direction. So, Heated Argument or Excavator is the question. I think Heated Argument's just a lot more flexible. You can still play this in Lorehold or Prismari, but Garrison Excavator is really kind of just a Lorehold exclusive. Pick number 3. Nothing crazy going on in these packs still. We can just take another decently statted red card, the Charging Strife Knight, 3 mana, 3/3 haste, and you can tap it to discard a card and draw a card. 3 mana, 3/3 haste, just a good stat line for the Lorehold decks, so you can get nice and aggressive, but even Prismari decks can use this card perfectly fine by, drawing and discarding cards over and over, setting up your draws, trying to find what you need. So that's perfectly reasonable. Wilt in the Heat is also reasonable, but obviously does start getting into a second color. But that's pretty efficient removal. That's about it. Scorn Mage can be good in Silver Quill, but obviously there's no black-red deck, so just grab a Strife Knight. Pick 4. I'm not loving the way this draft has gone so far, because there's a lot of just pretty mediocre packs. I don't think there's anything exciting in this pack for any players. The strongest cards here are all very filler, like Elemental Mascot or Hydro Channeler that could just end up getting cut. Witherbloom Charm's probably the strongest of these cards in terms of raw power level, but Zephyr is just so slow for what they're doing. By the time, again, that you're casting a 7 mana creature, you don't need the cost reduction on the instants and sorceries. I think we're kind of just taking a blue spell either way. I'm just not excited about Tackle Artist, so I'll grab an Elemental Mascot. I have been having some good experiences with that card lately. Just tripping in for flying damage while holding up a blocker every turn thanks to its vigilance. Pick 5, we see 2 Lorehold cards if we start going into that direction. That could be nice. Pursue the Past is a card that has played deceptively well. It's going to be really nice in dedicated Lorehold decks because when you're flashing it back and removing it from your graveyard, you are triggering all of those cards, but it also plays nice in the splashier 3-color kind of spell slingy decks like blue, red, white, because you get to get some card draw, do some digging. So I'll grab Pursue the Past here over the Spirit. Pick number 6. Not a huge fan of the pack. We could take a solid Lorehold flashbacker though. Group Project is fine for creature-heavy Lorehold builds. Paint Mage also can be okay when you're a Prismari build with a bunch of like 7 mana instant sorceries, but it's a bit finicky, it's very small. Pick number 7, there's a Lorecaster, which is okay top end for the spell slingy decks. Also an Owlin Historian, okay filler flyer if we're going lower curve and more aggressive. I am feeling like Witherbloom is looking the most open, seeing a Mind Rots and a Sen in the past here, but I'm also feeling like I don't like drafting Witherbloom basically at all at this point in the set. Pick 8, there's a Johnny's Response. Very great removal spell. Actually, really happy to see that this late. Solid sign for white. Pick number 9, Goblin Glasswright, Owlin Historian, or Helping Hand. Technically, Helping Hand can trigger all of the Leaves the Graveyard stuff, which is cool, but it's still kind of narrow. It can get stuck in our hand if our stuff hasn't died, Or if it's gotten exiled, so I kind of want to just take this Dory in here. Pick 10 has nothing, we'll play. Even if we are like blue, red, white, we're not using Fractalize. I'll just grab a Zombify. Pick 11, I'll rare draft A Glimpse of Nature from the Mystical Archives. And we'll see what we open up here in pack number 2. Pack 2, pick 1, we open up an okay aggressive card, the Quillblade Laureate, 2 mana for a 1/1 double striker, and it comes with a sorcery attached to it. You can cast to give something else +1/+0 and double strike as well. So you can get some good early damage out of that card. It's better in Silver Quill because you have more ways to buff your creatures and target your creatures, but it's still going to be fine here in Lorehold. So we will grab that. That makes by far the most sense out of any pick in this whole pack. Second best pick's probably Prismari Charm here because we're not that deep onto white. Red is certainly our deepest color, so there's still the off chance that we play blue, red, and white together, or the very off chance we get to full pivot to Prismari, but probably not. Alright, we finally got a pack with too much good stuff to choose from. There's Wilt in the Heap for very efficient removal. There's Kirol History Buff, which can give us a lot of value over time, constantly recasting that Pack-a-Punch, getting more counters on our creatures. The Great Hall of the Biblioplex is a pretty excellent land because it turns into a beefy creature in the late game. It's also really good for specifically converged decks, helping you get a mana of any color for specifically instants and sorceries. I like all of those a lot. I think I just go Wilt in the Heat here. Just the efficiency of that card is excellent for the cost, and it is definitely playable in the kind of 3-color Spellslinger deck, which might be a thing because we see a Sonar and a Visionary's Dance and really no good Lorehold cards. I guess Stand Up for Yourself is fine. But I'm very interested in Sonar here. Bit speculative, but I'm going to grab Sonar here over that removal. And then here we just see removal out of white again. So we'll grab it. Pick 5, a Braid. Shoots. Alright, well, this makes my earlier picks of taking removal over creatures look a bit worse because there's so much removal flying around, but it also does look like being in these colors is pretty nice. But we're not at a good spot to be an aggressive deck because our creature count is so low, so we do want to find some really good late game spells ideally and try to do the full Jeskai if we don't start getting a ton of creatures here pretty quickly. Grabbing a Braid on that one. Pick 6. Alright, well here's a pretty good finisher. 5 mana, 4/3 Flying Vigilance, but you can also play it early if you exile a couple cards from grave. Flow State's really nice for the Jeskai control build, though. Pretty huge card draw. I'm just going to end up drafting the same deck every draft in this format, I can already tell. Grab a Flow State. I can't resist. Pick 7. We do have a Spirit Mascot. If Lorehold works out, there's a Startled Relic Sloth. Pick 8 now. 4/4 Trample Lifelink. The stat line's already solid for the cost, but it can also trigger all your stuff about removing cards from grave. Pick 9 Visionary's Dance to top off the Jeskai stuff. We could still be either Lorehold or Jeskai. If last pack we just get a bunch of good Lorehold creatures, then we're a dedicated Lorehold aggro deck. And if we don't see any creatures and we just keep taking more removal and some card draw, then we can be a Jeskai deck. We wield Kirol, though, which I think I have to take over Great Hall and try to commit to Lorehold. If we see a Kirol that go that late, I think in the end our hope is that the final pack lets us fill out our creature curve and we get enough creatures for an aggro deck. Yeah, that's really all we're missing. We have overkill amounts of removal and a little bit of card draw. So just fill out some decent creatures and call it a Lorehold build. Alright, pack 3, what do you got? A blue-red duel. So tempted, but take the Rebel Rouser. We'll commit here. Take Rebel Rouser, probably wheel Spirit Mascot because we got this one like pick 9. And then we have the Rebel Rouser to trigger both copies of our Spirit Mascots as well as our Kirol. Pack 3, pick 2. Really not a particularly big fan of Ennis, but I like where he fits on our mana curve here. I feel like Charging Strife Knight is the best creature here by mana cost, but I have a lot of threes. I mean, I get to cut some pretty bad cards here, though. I've got like 3 really filler 3-mana ones. Yeah, I can play another good 3 and just end up cutting some of these. Ooh, speaking of good 3s, this is much more expensive than 3 mana technically, because you really want to play it later in the game most of the time. Just immediately recast whatever you're targeting, but play this, recast a Wilt in the Heat or something. Really efficient, really powerful 2-for-1. Definitely the Scrollsmith, but we treat that as like a 5 mana play on average. There's the Spirit Mascot, which we're working on ways to work with. We've got Rubble Rouser. We've got Heated Argument. We've got Relic Sloth. We've got Group Project. We've got Lorecaster. We've got Scrollsmith. Yeah, Spirit Mascot should be a solid 2-drop on curve, and that's where we are lacking some creatures here. Dual Tactics is another way to trigger both of our Spirit Mascots and our Kirol. Get some early blockers out of the way. Another Spirit Mascot here, pick 6. Join the party. Pick number 7, another Kirol. The Legend rule's a little rough on that, but there's nothing else that I'd play. So we'll try the double copy. Just hope not to draw them together. We just need 2 more creatures, and we've got a deck. Put that owl back in. That'll be one of the creatures. I'll put the owl and the debater back in, and we just cut a card every time we draft a card now. Which is going to be right now. I will play the Eager Glyph Mage over one of these. Help spread out our mana curve a little bit more. I think I'll cut the Rehearsed Debater and keep the Flyer. Okay, and then now if I could just have a full play set of Spirit Mascot, that'll be very fun. And I can cut. Well, I actually don't know if I want a full play set of Spirit Mascot. I'm going to take that over anything else. But would it be better to run 1 Owl instead of the 4th Spirit Mascot? That's a possibility. Because we're not like perfect at triggering all these Spirit Mascots. They're not going to pop off that often. Yeah, I don't know. We don't need any more 2-mana creatures. We don't need any more Johnny's Response style removal spells. So we'll cut either of these. I think I should probably play 1 Flyer instead of 4 Spirit Mascots. I will say by the end of this draft, it does look like it would have been better if we took the 2/3 that spits out a creature every time you exile something from grave. Could focus a little more on that. I'll play another Glyph Mage over the Owl. Yeah, this looks like a really reasonable deck. I don't actually know if this deck wants a Lorecaster. I think I'm still going to run it. It'll trigger all the Spirit Mascots and the Kirols. Give us a little bit of very high top end. All right. I think we can just call it a deck there. I mean, I'll double check. Colors here. We have 18 red cards and 15 white. So we're on 9 red, 8 plains. Or 9 red, 8 white sources. Makes sense to me. Yeah, I'm perfectly happy with this. Looks like a very solid, very standard Lorehold build. We will see how far it can take us as we hop into the gameplay. Alright, here we are on the play for game number 1 with a reasonable opener, a couple cheap creatures, some removal spells to back them up, and 1 top-end card with the Lorecaster. So Wilt in the Heat as our top deck. Run out the Kirol. There's our 3rd land, which is nice. Slam for 2. Drop Group Project, then pass. Really hoping to draw a cheap creature here. Which most of our creatures are. There's a textbook tabulator from our opponent, but before they have incremented it at all. So it still has 3 toughness, so if we don't draw anything good, we can just abrade that and get it out of the way. Could Impractical Joke it for 1 mana, but there's no reason. Unless I'm trying to save this to blow up an artifact, I might as well save the cheaper removal. Let's go for a Braid. I will say one thing that this deck is really lacking on is the Novice Inspectors, the excellent white common. It's a 1 mana 1/2 for 2 mana. You can tap or untap a creature and draw a card. That card is really, really excellent, but I think that while Lorehold was definitely pretty open, we probably had some competition out of a Silver Quill Drafter or two grabbing all those like Novice Inspector style cards. Paradox Surveyor now from our opponent. They played some kind of rare that was going to do some other spell, so I just killed that thing. Obviously, our hand is just all removal, so that's pretty self-explanatory. We do find a creature here, so there's a choice. I could play the creature so that I can flash back the group project here, but I think I'm supposed to just push damage again immediately. They got a hexproof trick or a giant growth combat trick. Nope, that is dead at least. They may have a flash creature for only 2 mana. Cyclonic Rift to kill our token. That's pretty good. Just turned it into a blue Doomblade. Oof, and then Tam is going to be a rough one because Tam's going to keep gaining them life and drawing cards, but not if I hit a heated argument, which I just did. Exile the Abrade here. I'm going to keep the cheapest removal spell so I can pick it up off the Lorecaster. And obviously I'm going to keep the flashback card in grave too. It's been a really chill game of Magic. We've had a relatively slow hand here, but they just didn't have any removal of their own, so we're just able to keep pushing damage with our 2 creatures we've cast the entire game. We've gotten them down all the way to 4 off of just those 2. Pack-a-Punch does put 2+1/+1 counters on a creature, so it threatens lethal here. If they have a response, though, it's a lot better to go Glyph Mage Group Project. Because just going for the Pack-a-Punch here and then them having a single removal spell goes pretty poorly for me. Unfortunately, it would have actually been better the other way around, because Quandrix Charm was not going to stop the Pack-a-Punch. So we actually could have just done Pack-a-Punch for lethal, but I think out of these colors, the blue and the black in particular, they were just a lot more likely to have some kind of bounce spell or just full-on removal spell out of black there than have a counter spell in particular. Either way, they do not draw out of it, and we start things off with a win. We are 1-0 heading to game 2. Alright, here we are on the play for game 2, and we have a curve out on this one. We have the Quillblade Laureate into the Hastings Strife Knight, and then the token-producing Glyph Mage. So let's just curve out and push some early damage. We're playing against Teamer, blue, red, and green. They have the Essence Scatter here. There's a lot of different cards they could have right now. Okay, well, we've been playing a lot of 3 and 4 color grindy slow decks. So we've seen the other end of this spectrum a lot, where it's like you keep a hand with early, with like no early removal, but like a lot of good card draw and stuff because it's really good in the mirror and you just keep getting paired up against the mirror all day. I'm going to assume what happened there is that they had a hand like that, where it's like big draw spell, big late game counter spell, big 7 mana spell, and then they just see double striker into 3/3 haste and they're like, I'm tired of this. Why do I keep having to pair against aggro? But the world may never know. Something could have come up. But I'm going to assume we just won rock, paper, scissors really hard. We are 2-0 heading into game 3. All right, here we are on the play for game number 3. We do not have a creature curve this time. We just have a single Kirol. We hope him to carry us all the way to victory. Stone Dawsant. No, 3 power. 3 power. All right, well, now we drew into a curve. We draw a Rebel Rouser. Good stuff. If they don't kill that, that's going to combo with the Kirol every turn. It's going to make the Wilton Heat cheaper as well. That's a very good card in this deck. Lorehold Mirror Match. Goodbye, sweet Kirol. You're being eyeballed in ways I don't like. Okay, Kirol sticks around for now. Let's see what happens. Do they allow me to Pack-a-Punch somebody? I can Pack-a-Punch and Wilt in the Heat in the same turn here. I guess I don't need to Wilt if Pack-a-Punch resolves, but it's not that likely to resolve. So they're red and white. They could have the white removal spell that destroys a tapped creature, in which case I'm supposed to Pack-a-Punch Kirol. That card is a common. Otherwise, basically all of the red removal, I'm supposed to target Rebel Rouser, because they can't do 4 damage to Rouser. Well, no, there's 2 in a red at common that can also do 4 damage to Rouser. Yeah, I think if they have a thing, they have a thing. We just put it on Kirol, and then we won't have to kill Dawson if they don't have a thing. No, it's the 3 damage thing. Could have gotten counters on Rebel Rouser. That's okay, we're still chilling. Really don't think I need to play the most efficient Wilt in the Heat ever. We can just take a few points of damage once. Garrison Excavator. Now that is going to die for sure before it does anything. Boop. Boop. Goodbye. And then this can kind of shut off some of their graveyard stuff. Make it harder for them to trigger their cards. They do have the Unsubtle Mockery on the Relic Sloth. In the upkeep too, getting fancy with it so they can surveil before their draw step. Keep the card on top. Technically means if it was a card that they like and they wanted to draw it, would have played better if they did it in their main phase, but they couldn't have known that they would have won the card that they saw. I think I just put another threat on the board. We play a Lorecaster here, picking up the Wilt in the Heat. I guess it is like a teeny tiny bit awkward to not get like the cost reduction on Wilt, but that's fine. Stand up for yourself, Lorecaster. You're dead. Down another 3. We're down to 13. And our opponent pursues the past as well. Discard a card, draw 2, discarding a 2/2. We find a group project, so I need to find one more creature. If that is the case, I kind of don't want to pursue the past here. But pursue the passing a flashback card is fine. I think I'm in a perfectly fine position to just wait it out. Trade Tome Blast into the token. So we're just going to end up trading both halves of Group Project into both halves of Tome Blast at some point. Maelstrom Artisan, 3/2 haste. Can blow up a non-basic, but we don't run those. Who needs non-basics? It's obviously slightly awkward that they still know about Wilt in the Heat if I use a Braid, but I would rather save the 5 damage removal for something with more than 2 toughness, just in case. Yep, I'm not going to discard one of these removal spells. So we pass back. Now they pursue it the past. Discard a mountain, draw 2. Helping Hand, pick up a 3/2 haste again, but it's tapped here. Okay. chillin'. I'll go ahead and wilt it, and then they'll have shields down for Johnny's response. Or they'll think that our shields are down, that we don't have a Johnny's response. Ooh! Dual tactics against the 1 toughness card. Gotta love it. That doesn't happen too often at all. Man, I wish our, what is this thing? I wish our sloth stuck around. That thing is so good in this matchup. There we go. Now we can pursue the past. Spirit Mascot, hello there. Boy, howdy do I have some cards for you. Garrison Excavator, that is a very good one. Thank goodness no trigger the turn they play it, though. So I can kill it before it does something. Probably. Let's see. Okay. I kind of don't have the mana to do anything else right now. Dang it. I was trying to, by not activating yet, play around like 3 damage removal so I could get this damage in first, and then during their end step, when I try to make it a 4/4, then they shoot it with the Abrade for 3, but if it's power-based removal, it's dead, period. This is not a great position to be in the top deck war, but your opponent has a Surveil land. I have 9 cards in my grave. Yeah, we keep pinging them. We keep pinging them. I have nothing that returns creatures back, so we'll hit the creatures first. If they have removal to kill Rebel Rouser, now would be the time to counter the group project. They do not. We get it. Okay, this is going to start putting damage on them really quick. They're even at the point of surveilling in their upkeep before the draw step, which is going to tap them out of Tome Blast here. Find a Repel Calamity, though, for the Rebel Rouser. So worth it in the end. Find a land. I believe I have no other discard and draw on this deck. It's the 1 Rebel Rouser and the 1... Oh, no, I have 2 Strife Knights. Okay. I do need to sandbag lands in the late game, just hold them in my hand with this deck. Because I knew that I had Pursue the Past and the Rebel Rouser that can discard and draw. I have 2 Strife Knights. Although that said, if the board remains how it is right now, there's no way we're tapping Strife Knight to draw cards. We're just slamming them in the face. as long as they have no creatures, which is going to be a while longer because you got a heated argument too. Full control so that I can exile that before it exiles a card from my grave. Not exile, but, you know, burn it. And we pick the creature because we don't have ways to get it back. Attack for 6. They are dead in one more swing. But they have the Tome Blast. So they can Tome Blast the 2/2. Oh, they're just going to scoop it up. I think they meant to surveil in their upkeep, and they just were frustrated they didn't get to do that. But they were still not dead on board. They had the Tome Blast for the 2/2, take 4. All right, we'll take those. That is 3-0 very quickly. Made it to at least a 50-50 run with this deck, so very happy with that, and we'll see how far we can take it. We're on the draw, and if we hit the plains, this hand's going to be awesome. There's 8 out of 33 are plains in this deck. That's less than a 1 in 3 chance, and we really want it within like a draw. But I've got Impractical Joke to slow them down and Strife Knight guaranteed. I don't know if I should take this gamble, but I will take this gamble and rely on these. I mean, if I mulled to 5 and I saw these 5 cards, I would keep them, so. The worst case scenario is still, like, as good as if we have to mulligan the 6-card hand. We did hit the best case scenario here. We hit the plains. So we're going to get the curve out, 2, 3, 4. This is a suspicious start from Silver Quill. Very aggressive color pair, but just a removal loaded hand, I guess. Blow up a Strife Knight. Ooh! I love it when my opponents cast a road this early in the game. We're not a 5-color deck or anything, so it's not going to like totally demolish them, but that is one of the best removal spells we could have seen for us. Like, if they just had a last gasp or something, like one of the common removal spells, that would have hurt a lot more. Getting a land here is pretty sweet. Like, they are getting to kill our creature for only, like, 1 mana. But man, do I love getting Path to Exiled on, like, turn 2 or 3 in draft. Just set up to have all the mana in the world. I don't think I actually Rebel Rouser here. I think I do just go for the Glyph Mage. Rebel Rouser can set up to juice up the Spirit Mascot and make the Wilton Heat cheaper. So it's really tempting for that, but I don't have anything I want to discard. Conciliator's Duelist. Everybody draws a card. And, well, they draw a card and everybody loses a life. Okay, now I can do Rebel Rouser, discard the land, and Practical Joke that. Don't play the Laureate. I think that's the play. Well, I guess I don't have to discard a card for Rebel Rouser. I should have just played Rebel Rouser last turn then. Okay, if I don't have to discard a card, I'm actually going to decline then. And we just hope they don't have one of the board wipes. The board wipes I can think of are Witherbloom and Witherbloom and red board wipes. There's probably something at like Mythic and white or black. If they have that, we lose. But it would be a card I don't think I've ever seen before. Okay. No board wipe. So there's just no coming back from this board state. And we are 4-0 heading into game 5. All right, here we are on the play for game number 5. I'm going to be really sad if I have to play the Scrollsmith just as a 3-mana 3/2 first strike, but if we draw nothing but lands, I think I'm still supposed to just curve out and play it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Don't do it to me. Give me some good cheap spells to cast, some good cheap burn and stuff to kill their creatures, and then have stuff in my grave. And then I can exile that stuff in grave to buff the mascot. Okay, I did get that, but do just play my 3/2 on curve and try to get aggressive, because when we get to the late game against the the 5-color Converge deck, they are just going to absolutely overwhelm us. So we need to put as much pressure as we can on them as early as possible. I think I'm supposed to Sloth pre-combat too. It's not going to buff Mascot, but we get to get rid of their shared roots just in case they have their own graveyard recursion. Well, they're probably holding up removal here, so I'm actually going to Sloth post-combat to see if we can get them to kill Scrollsmith instead. Plus, then we have Wilt in the Heat if they flash in, like that rare 2/3 flying flash that's in blue. Okay, Essence Scatter would just be the exact same whenever we cast our Sloth. Quick study, draw a couple cards. Well, not impacting the board at all is good for us. But now they've got all 5 colors, which is very bad for us. And I just have a couple removal spells with no targets because they're one of the just all spells decks. So if they just play a couple removal spells here, I'm sitting here doing nothing. We're really hoping they're trying to play creatures to defend themselves, but that's just not what this deck does. Yep, they're just going to start killing these things. Run behind, put the Scrollsmith back on top? I guess Scrollsmith can't replay creatures anyway. So it's just a 3/2. Dang, I was going to say that has such a good ability to redraw, and then it's like, it doesn't really. I'm going to keep it anyway. So combos with Wilt in the Heat, so I can Rebel Rouser the Wilt into the grave. And then if they play any blocker, I can play Scrollsmith and cast the Wilt. If they cast any instant or sorcery that says Converge on it, I think we lose. But maybe they won't draw them. Not yet. Not yet, surprisingly. Okay. I have no way to bring the Sloth back from grave anyway, so I might as well buff it. Buff the Spirit Mascot, that is. If they have a counterspell for Scrollsmith or Lorecaster, that's going to play exactly the same. I probably am supposed to play Lorecaster then. So anything that could counter one can counter the other, except for like Quandrix Charm. And Lorecaster's obviously bigger stats on board, and I just permanently get to keep Wilt in the Heat instead of for one turn. Banishing Betrayal the Mascot back to hand, sure. Surveil their card back to the top. I've got enough mana worth of stuff in hand. I'm going to play this land out, even though I have ways to discard and draw. Can do a lot of things in one turn. Combat attack for 5 and see what happens. Banishing Betrayal Lorecaster back. Scry to the top again. Play one Lorecaster or two smaller creatures. I'm going to play two smaller creatures. Play around single target removal. Visionary's Dance to do some digging. Mila, pick your poison. Just does absolutely nothing against our deck. Harmonized Trio. They've got a 1/1 to block with. We got a practical joke for that. Funny joke. Might as well buff. Actually did that wrong. I should have just played Lorecaster, but it doesn't matter. They just did not draw any of their big instants or sorceries. I was saying, like, might as well buff, but it's like, well, playing the Lorecaster also buffs it. Because we just pick up that instant or sorcery, and that's a card leaving grave. That was a weird game. That was a scary one, because it's like, if they ever hit a Snarl Song or something, we were going to have a really rough time. Now, I think we might still have been able to beat, like, a copy of Snarl Song, because they played, like, no creatures, so we just had these left to kill both of the 5/5 tokens that Snarl Song makes. But, if they, like, played a Snarl Song and then cast, like, a Diversion Equation, pick up all their instant sorcery from grave, like, these have some huge explosive late-game plays, so I was not a fan of how slow we kind of played things out there, but it luckily still worked out for us, and we are 5-0 heading into game number 6. Mono red hand on the play here for round number 6. If we're against an aggro deck, it's a fine keep. We can wait for the white source, keep them in check, and then drop down a big lifelinker. If we're against a slow deck, this is a bad, bad hand. If we're against Prismaria or if we're against 5-color, I'm gonna hope we're against Silverquill. I'm calling it right now. Silverquill land. Yep, that's a Plains. There's an Elite Interceptor. That looks pretty Silverquill to me. It's a little weird to cast the instants over the sorcery here, but it allows us to play 2 spells next turn if we hit the Plains. See, I just had a feeling. I just know these things. I just know what the matchup's going to be, and I know that we're running up against the aggro decks. This is a fine opening hand against aggro. Let's rip that thing out of their grave, shall we? No flashback for you. Unfortunately, the Administrator's just immediately out of range of all of our 3 damage removal, so we couldn't, like, Scroll Smith it, deal 3. But we can Ajani's Response it now, and their final creature, for now, is dead. Yeah, I'd rather do that than play any of these. Just defend ourselves. Kill it while they have no other creatures to move the counters to. And then if they play anything with 3 or less toughness, we just play Scrollsmith and kill it. Let's go Glyph Mage over Strife Knight. Spread the board out and be mana efficient. Remember that earlier game where I was talking about rock, paper, scissors? And how maybe our slower opponent just kept a slow hand with a bunch of good card draw, and then they saw they were against aggro and were like, oops, I lose. We won rock, paper, scissors really hard there. It feels like we really won rock, paper, scissors here as well, while I was like, this hand looks great against aggro. I'm going to hope we're playing against aggro. And here we are. There's still a lot of really powerful cards in the set, so it is still kind of anyone's game, but we're pretty favored right now, so. Do like how this has played out for us. But a single good rare mythic can flip that right back in their favor. There's a single good rare mythic, I would say. Why did I open my mouth? That's a brutally good one. Just blow up our whole board and reanimate their whole graveyard, essentially. Alright, well. I did what I could, but that card just soloed the entire game of Magic. If I kill Elite Interceptor, then theoretically they don't have any way to target these creatures. So if they draw poorly, we could be fine. What I don't like is if I kill one of these administrators and they just get to, like, repartee down the first striker. That's a 3/3, slam for 4. They're drawing another card, going further. I feel like I'm killing Interceptor here and just hoping they don't have the... hoping they don't have the additional repartee trigger. They just have a second Interceptor. Oh my god. Well, that was going to be devastating for us, whatever we killed. I killed another administrator, and the other one's like a 4/4 now. They draw 2 cards. They've got a poet to go with those 2. That is definitely something. 9 life here. That last card's a land, and then they draw another land. This is really something. Try our best. It's a race. They top decked that because they had the mana to play it last turn and didn't, so they just top decked lethal, which happens. And another rare. Ooh, we did not stand a chance this game. That was a savage beating for our first loss. It's all because I opened my big mouth. I was like, hey, this hand worked out really well. I told you this plays really well against aggro. Well, nothing plays really well against mega bombs like Moment of Reckoning, just completely breaking our back there. That is 5-1 heading into game number 7. Here we are on the play for game number 7. This time the hand isn't even that good against aggro without hitting the white source because it just has the 1 Impractical Joke and then we pray. Really want to have at least like 2 castable spells early, and this hand blanks very hard without the planes. So I think this is our first time I'm going to just not take the risk. I've kept a lot of risky hands in this video, but this is too far gone for even me. That is some fun spice. I technically have more red than white in this deck. Yeah, if these stick around for a Pursue the Past flashback, that could be pretty nice. Lorehold mirror match? Nope. Jeskai, blue, red, and white from our opponent, and they have the early Tome Blast for the Spirit Mascot. Sad day. But hey, there's Spirit Mascot's best friend, the Startled Relic Sloth, here to buff it up. I am likely going to have to just exile their Tome Blast first, though. Make sure that they don't get the flashback on that later. No. Jeskai deck with the good cheap removal. Do not play a land and Essence Scatter. Here I go opening my mouth again. They're going to go land Disdainful Stroke. They did play a tap land, so we're fine. Relic Sloth survives. No second Tome Blast for our opponents. Drew a good card, though. Strife Knight is a nice addition to this hand. Alright, 4/4 should be a little bit harder for these colors to kill. There is a common removal spell in red. 2 in a red for 4 damage, but that's the only one that would do it. The other ones, like Abrade, Tome Blast, Burst Lightning, are going to have some struggles. Burst Lightning could do it too, though. Just take a little longer. I don't have double white, so if I play the 2-drop, that's all I'm playing, versus just hasting in with Strife Knight. I'm just going to haste in with Strife Knight. We'll keep exiling out of their grave instead of ours. Oh man, this is a really good. This is a really good spells deck. It's got the Vibrant Outburst 2 early. Discard this mountain to the Pursue the Past, but I'm playing Kirol. Fourth mountain, though, over like second plains. Yeah, I should probably hold on to this, because we know we have a Pursue the Past. Matter Bending Mage, bounce the Sloth. No blue mana untapped, so they can't counter the Sloth here, so I guess we're just replaying that. Wilt in the Heat. Yeah, it's whatever. Okay. Can only play one creature because I've drawn all white spells. I mean, they're both colors, so like if earlier we kept the second plane instead of the second mountain and then drew a bunch of planes instead of a bunch of mountains, we'd have the exact same issue. It's because they're dual colored cards that we're drawing. Just gonna send in with a Wilt in the Heat Up if they try to combat trick, but it's probably gonna be like block then shoot it with removal, which would work. It's nothing. Well, I think I need a second white badly enough to just go Pursue the Past here. But I do also really want to just play to the board in this matchup. It's close. It's quite close. Plus, if I get Kirol down before the Pursue the Past, I get the Pack-a-Punch. I think I'm still holding this mountain in hand because, again, if I play the mountain and I draw planes, I don't want to discard the planes to the Pursue the Past. It's kind of awkward. Run behind. Sure, I'll just replay a Sloth. Give me something to do here. I don't need to immediately have access to Pack-a-Punch. But it is a sorcery, so it would make sense to hit it. I think that some of the best late game plays in these Spellslinger decks are just bringing instant sorceries back to their hand, though, so I'm just going to keep those shut off. Make sure Divergent Equation will never do anything. There's a Dual Tactics, which we could use to fully kill the Matter Bending Mage. I think it's at this point we get to just dig. Where are my planes at? Mount 5, baby. Alright, now that we tapped out for our draw spell, will we get the combat trick kill on the Sloth? Combat trick kill on Kirol? Oh, just give it +1/+1? Okay, we can dual tactics finish it. It's not that bad. I could have pre-combat dual tactics just in case they had specifically a combat trick, but again, like these 5-color decks, I expect more just hard removal, where dual tactics would just be kind of wasting it. Didn't play out that way. A pre-combat dual tactics would have been perfectly fine there. Maybe even, probably even preferable. I don't think the other parts of Lorehold Charm would have done anything. Yeah, they wouldn't have. Well, that's not true. They could have Lore Hold Charm to save that, but then it still wouldn't block. Like if I ever tried to shoot it twice for 2. Alright, we're getting converged, which is really, really bad. Oh, not the rare. Oh, it's the rare. Oh. Then we gotta beat a fresh grip of 7 cards in hand. A bunch of breathing room at 15. Alright. Do what we can. That makes sense. Together as one into the Mythic Quandrix Cascade, full stable, every instant sorcery cascades as well. I can kill Quandrix before they do any more cascading if they don't have a 2-mana way to protect it at least. Never mind, they do cascade for 1, but they have no 1-drop in the deck. You can see their whole deck here. Yeah, this is a really strong deck. Oh my god. They have Improvisation Capstone as well. But yeah, they have just a bunch of good cheap removal. Garrison Excavator is a little bit weird in there, but just tons of good cheap removal. Tro for the fixing. Yeah, all in all, really, really nice 5-color spells build from our opponent. I like that. I like it. Good stuff. We are going to die to it, though, which I don't like. Tackle Artist is going to be out of reach of our Wilt in the heat. And then that could just kill us. Oh, they had a Colossus the Blood Age in their hand that we didn't get to see. In their deck, they didn't have too many other like actual finishers. So I was like, maybe there's a slight chance we can like kill this Tackle Artist and then they just can't close out the game really. Not the case. They've got the Colossus as well. Luckily, they didn't buff the Tackle Artist anymore, but we can't kill Colossus, so now that is killing us. Zealous Lorecaster on together as one. I don't think there's even a point trying to mill them. They go to 9 cards. I guess they draw a card next turn and then they play it. We're taking 10 a turn. Yeah, no, there's absolutely no chance here. Let's move on. 5 and 2. Unfortunately, we started playing against great rares now. That is going to end a win streak pretty handedly. All right, here we are for game number 8. We are 5 and 2 now with this nice Lorehold deck. We are going to be on the draw, but this is a very keepable hand. Multiple 2-mana creatures and then a 4-mana Glyph Mage. Not only that, but the Glyph Mage works really well with Group Project. Those 2 cards synergize well together. Glyph Mage giving the 2 extra creatures we need to flash back the Group Project pretty easily. Go Group Project here. So I can go Project into Strife Knight into Glyph Mage. It's going to be another 5-color Converge. They start with Potioner's Trove and the 1-mana Impractical Joke. Really nice. That is one of the big, most important cards, especially for this matchup for the Spell Slingy Converge decks. It's just having the 1 and 2 mana removal like Impractical Joke, and our last opponent that had Tome Blast and the 2 mana 3 damage thing. See if they can kill our Strife Knight in response to this. I would prefer not, but they probably can. Oh, Mana Sculpt. At least they don't have a creature on board, so that's just cancel. 3 mana, counter it. Colossus of the Blood Age. Hello there. You are 6 toughness. I can do 6 damage. I do need another mana to do 6 damage, though. So that's not good. Find me a land, friend. Perfect. They do get to draw another card here at worst. But if they have other cards that don't matter, they can discard those and draw more too. So they draw 2, discard them out and draw 2. Cheerful Osteomancer. Rough. Immediately bring it back. Ay, ay, ay. Well, that lined up pretty poorly. Start setting up some grindy value here, I guess. I think. Get the double trigger. Maybe try to go wide around a 6/6. Okay, it's back. Gain even more life. Off of its enter effect. Till the end of your next turn. So I can Scrollsmith my Heated Argument to play later. And just play Pack-a-Punch right now. Get the Spirit Mascot to 6 power toughness. I'm gonna choose a Johnny's Response. Because then if they attack with Colossus, it's only 2 mana. And if they end up managing to buff it, somehow I can still kill it. If I have the revealed 6 damage removal for it, and they have any way to like juice it up, that could play poorly. Pursue the past, do some digging. Landscape Painter, which will draw a couple more cards later. Gain some Potioner's Trove life. Alright, get your Colossus cards. Oh, we do get to dual tactics this Landscape Painter. So we hit the red. Well, we hit the extra land. I feel like we flunge. Put them to 10. Smell song's pretty bad. 2 5/5s and gain 5. You know what 2 5/5s can't deal with? 5 power first striker. They can deal with an 8/8. Awkwardly. So I actually think I just get rid of their Pursue the Past instead. I might get rid of their Snarl Song in case they have something to bring it back right now. I think I'm just going to hit Pursue the Past because that's like guaranteed value for them no matter what's in their hand. But I guess they can double block Scrollsmith and just trade one off, but then Spirit Mascot has free reign to get in. Alright. This works. As long as they can't bring back Snarl Song. Actually, having access to Kirol's spell again would be pretty big here, so maybe I should have just exiled out of my own grave again anyway, even if they would have gotten flashback value here. Oh my god. It'll be the 3rd time the same Colossus has been cast. Brutal. And they can do it a 4th time. Well, I am feeling pretty bad for having flunged with the Strife Knight 2, because the draw and discard every turn would have been really good. Some Molten Core Maestro to keep getting bigger. Double Potioner's Trove for massive life gain now. Well, they are just going to pick up the 2/1 to draw some cards. Okay. We are milling all of our spells. Drawing all of our lands, sadly. Okay, it's not that bad to mill another hero, but it is still funny. That's just mill spell, mill spell, mill spell. Landscape Painter. Draw 2, gain 4. Well, they get a bunch of mana back out of the Maestro, too. Seize the spoils. Discard 1, draw 2. It's not looking good for our heroes. This is the kind of matchup you just have to kill them quick, and we just couldn't do that because they triple Colossus us for a bunch of life gain and huge blockers. Copy. That does not do a dang thing on this board. block with 2/6/6s. Can only get them if they try to block with the 5/5, which is unlikely. They could just block with both 6/6s, or they could block with the whole board. They have so much life and so much card advantage here that they're pretty safe to go for really big blocks, and those would absolutely work. Get some 1/1s. Yep, and then there's the finisher bomb. It's just no shot. We just needed to be able to break through with early aggro, and we couldn't do that through the Colossus, getting triple Colossi. Rough run. Good draft overall. I mean, I'm pretty happy with the deck that we ended up with. And I think 5-3 is a very serviceable record for it, but it's always brutal to have just the win streak into all of your losses in one clump. Not only that, but every single game we lost was to rares, which is to be expected out of the 5-color decks, because when you're in 5 colors, you could take any rare that you see. But we took a rareless deck into a 5-0 win streak, and then when we finally started seeing bomb rares, it was like, yeah, I mean, we just can't compete with those. We don't have anything nearly that high impact. Together as one, Moment of Reckoning, the return all your instant sorceries from grave card. But that final game of Magic, they were already getting ahead without that rare. So that was more just all that graveyard recursion with that 6/6, which if we had played prophetically, like we knew the future, we could have done different things with the relic sloth and actually exiled that thing. But I wasn't really expecting graveyard creature recursion. I think there was a way we could have played that, like if we knew exactly how their deck was built and what was in their hand, how to do that. But their deck was built kind of weird. You very rarely see the black graveyard recursion creatures in those 5-color converge decks. I'm much more used to like the spell recasting graveyard recursion-y stuff, so it's just some unexpected stuff that I did not quite play around. So the first 2 losses, I think we lose no matter how we play it. Those were just devastatingly powerful decks and rares. But that third one, I think if we knew what was coming, we could probably have beat them there. Maybe in like a best 2 out of 3 scenario. But anyways, final peek at the deck. That's just a very solid core to a good lore hold deck, but it does go to show in the modern era of limited Magic, the play booster era, with how bomby things are, how great the rares are. This is really just a solid core to a deck. It doesn't have that little extra spice to take it over the top and get it to like a 7-win run. And that little extra spice would generally be some amount of like really good rares. We have 0 rares in here, just a solid curve, some good synergy, good removal, all of the basic stuff for a deck without the spice to get it to 7 wins. Still, very solid record today at 5-3. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. And other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.